So we are going to be looking at a scenario where civilization starts over. We are on episode 5 of this new series, and in the last episode, we saw the purple team expand into all of this lake right here. The Iberians were able to conquer all of Iberia and expand up into France. And we even saw people move up and discover Ukraine. Anyways, if you guys are enjoying this series, make sure to like and subscribe. We are on the road to 3,000 subscribers. In fact, we are less than 100 away. So it would help out a ton if you like, subscribed, and left a comment below this video to show your support. But anyways, let's go ahead and get into this video. So for the first thing I want to show you guys in this episode is the new ideology layer, and I forgot the Libyan team. The purple team is a monarchy, and I did this on live stream. In fact, I'm live right now, so if you missed the live stream, shame on you. But we have 3 authoritarian countries, being the red team, the Cypriots, and the Iberians. We have 2 democracies, being Anatolia and Rome. Rome is more of a republic, that's why they're a little bit flawed. We have 3 oligarchies, being Ukraine, Adriatica, and the yellow team. And, oh my god, I forgot these guys. The Spartans are ruled by a military dictatorship. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then there are 5 monarchies. Yeah. But anyways, say hi to the live chat, and yeah. Now for the real first event of this video, we need to move over to Iberia, who has been expanding a lot recently. And well, the Iberians have finally reached up over into Britannia. We see them land over inside of Cornwall and expand throughout the southern part of, I guess, the United Kingdom or the British Isles. They move up into Wales and eventually start to explore along this whole area. And it's getting really cold up here, way colder than it is down over here. But they're going to continue up, and they eventually move up into some Scottish areas, even discovering the Isle of Man. But the Iberians, they're not just exploring up over here. We also see them exploring up into the, I guess, Germanic areas of Europe. With a more suited exploration group, more fitted to the cold, we see them move up into these Danish areas. And eventually, with this will take a lot of time, but they do manage to discover all of Denmark. And they start to move around the Baltic Sea and even down into Central Europe. They follow some of these rivers down into Central Europe, being these 2 rivers right here. And with this newly explored land first, the Iberians are going to move up into Normandy and eventually make a landing inside of the British Isles. Eventually, all of Cornwall is going to go underneath their control, and they stop about here. Anyways, now let's move over to Carthage, the recently independent Carthaginian country. These guys are vastly different from the Roman Republic as, well, they kind of feel like they were just left here by the Romans. But we see these guys expanding for the first time in a long time. At least that's not in this Carthaginian area. They expand along the coastline, and eventually they reach up with the Iberians. And the problem is, these 2, they kind of used to be underneath one little separatist movement, but they had a big fallout, and now it's probably not the best that they have just reconnected. So we could see some clashes happen on this border, but maybe. But the Iberians share a border with a country that they, I mean, this is like the first country they've ever shared a border with, at least for a while, because now the Catalonians and the Galicians are not here. But we continue to see the Carthaginians expand east. And these guys are making up for all the time they could have been expanding. And now we see them connect up with the purple team. Yet again, it's probably not the best that these guys are connected up once again. Because they used to be underneath, well, the yellow team, the purple team, technically the blue team, and the Iberians. All were under a separatist movement inside of the red team. And then they all split apart. And these guys, who knows if they're really going to get along. But now, moving away from Carthage, we need to move up a little bit over to, I guess, Corsica. Because these guys are every day, pretty much, just begging Sardinia to join up with them and create the Corsican-Sardinian Union. If you remember when the Romans first split apart into, I guess, the tribes up in the north. And these guys right here were gonna originally join up with the Corsicans, but then Rome switched to kind of a republic type rule. We kind of see some areas of Sardinia go over to this movement, I guess. Or more so, Corsica kind of just makes an amphibious landing in the north. saying that these people really want to be a part of Corsica and they deserve to be a part of Corsica. So we see the Corsicans move down and eventually capture this major city, and that is not going to sit well with the Romans, who are falling apart a lot, and they cannot afford to lose Sardinia, a very strategical position inside of the Mediterranean. Because if they let go of Sardinia, then who knows, maybe Sicily could go over to Carthage or something, who knows. So really, for the first time, we see the Romans fight back. And the Corsicans were not, they were not gonna, well, they weren't, I don't even know how to phrase this. They weren't expecting this. I don't know how that took me so long to think of. So eventually we see them get pushed back all the way to this northern part of Sardinia. We do see the Corsicans make a pretty smart pushback against the Romans. But we'll come back to this more later. But we need to go up over to the tribes of Italy. These guys are ruled by a monarchy, the big tribal daddy, who is located inside of this major tribal city. And, well, if you're wondering, they haven't been able to connect up with this tribe right here that joined them because of some local tribes that exist like here. So what he's going to do, he's going to move in, and he's pretty much going to kill them all. Yeah, they're all dead pretty much now. And now, he just showed that he's willing to throw hands. He's going to go ahead and start to expand into some other tribal areas along the Mediterranean right here. He moves right here until he is stopped because, well, they just encountered some Iberian tribes. Some tribes who work very closely with the Iberians who have just moved up here. And, well, they're slaughtered. And we even see them move over and connect up with Adriatica. But after they pillage and just absolutely destroy some of these tribes, the survivors are going to move down and go ahead and tell Big Daddy Iberia, in which they're going to send some people up to deal with the tribes up here. And we start to see the Italian tribes get kicked out of this land, and it goes back over to the tribes. Eventually, we see the Iberians expand up along the Mediterranean coast to try and get a border with these guys to maybe discuss some terms. And we also see these guys move back down into this area. And, well, let's just say it's not going quite well for the Iberians as we see the tribes move throughout this area. Iberia, they're going to go ahead and hold a front line right here. And we kind of see some fighting between the Italian tribes and the Iberians. But no war is declared. And really, if you look at it, all of the western side of the Mediterranean is covered in a color. That's pretty cool. Moving back over to this war, though, we see the Romans completely kick Corsica out of Sardinia. And, well, yeah, that's it for the mainland Corsica. And, well, the Iberians are going to get the third party. So, yeah, there goes Corsica, I guess. Inside of a peace treaty, we see the Romans get all of Corsica back. And the Iberians get these Spanish islands. And, well, the Romans have finally won a war. Moving east to the Greeks and the Anatolians, we see something very, I guess, the very first form of alliance. So we see the very first alliance form, and it is the Square Military Alliance. Now you might be wondering, why do these guys need a military alliance? Well, if we move down over to Sparta, you can see, yeah, the Spartans have just been eradicated, and they are now fully annexed by the Greeks. And, well, they also made this alliance to stop any Egyptian expansion, just in case the Egyptians want to expand into Anatolia. But now we start to see these two go ahead and connect up with a land border. It's pretty hard to work out deals between these two, especially because they're not connected, except over inside of Crete. So they've really been holding their meetings here. And we go ahead and see these guys connect up with a actual land border now. This is not going to be the final border. This looks ugly, but let's go ahead and work out like what the border will look like. So here is what we see the border looking like, and all of the Aegean Sea is now encircled by the Anatolians and the Greeks. And these two now share a actual border, and now with this they can maybe even work out some treaties with the Ukrainian country. But speaking of the Ukrainians, we start to see these guys expand around the Black Sea. If I can click on the right layer. But we start to see these guys explore around the Black Sea and up into, I guess, Russia. At least I think this is Russia. But we just start to see the Lime Ukrainians explore around this area. And they're still trying to work through the Caucasus, but we also see the Anatolians start to work around. And eventually they also meet up with the Caucasus Mountains, in which they stop. Over here, we see the Anatolians expand. But there were some tribal stuff over here, so who knows if they'll be able to even hold on to this. But that's for a different episode. Now we need to move back over to Germany, where we see a dark blue Germanic country form. We see them move around this area. And if you're wondering what people are here, it's mainly Iberian. But we also see these guys start to explore around Germany and eventually expand down into this area. Well, we have just seen, we see the Iberians make a landing. What the heck is happening? We see the Iberians making a landing inside of Ireland. And, well, if we look at all of Ireland, the Irish are already here and very quickly kick the Iberians out of Ireland. Yet another unknown nation has just been discovered, and it has sent the Iberians packing. The Irish also have full control over Scotland, and at this point we could pretty much go ahead and confirm that all of the British Isles is known of, besides of Doggerland, if you consider Doggerland a part of the British Isles. Moving over to Adriatica, we see these guys explore up north a little bit, but we mainly see these guys start to explore and expand down the Adriatic, kind of turning into Yugoslavia, but also they're not Yugoslavia. But we also see them explore up into these recently explored areas, now looking something like this. But there is a problem. The Greeks were looking to expand up into this area, and, well, the Adriaticans, they've kind of just blocked them. So we kind of also start to see relations sour between the Adriaticans and the Greeks. Finally, we can move over to the Egyptians. They're not really doing much in this episode. They're kind of taking a chill pill. But we do see them explore up over into, the Middle East. This is the furthest east any country has gone, and they eventually reach up to the Caspian. They start to explore around it until they move up into, over here. Well, they have just ran into another country. They have just ran into Armenia. These guys are also pretty aggressive. I don't really think anyone right now is super friendly towards each other, besides the Anatolians and Greeks. Which is just weird because these two never get along. I mean, I guess the yellow team and the purple team are getting along, but most people don't really know about the yellow team. Let's go ahead and put a capital city down for Armenia. Let's also put one down for the Germanic country, as well as Ireland. Just put it in Dublin. I think that's where Dublin is. Moving up north, we see the Germans start to discover parts of Copenhagen and make a landing inside of southern Sweden. Pretty big. This is the most north anyone has been so far. And these guys begin to rapidly explore amongst this area, even reaching up over to Oslo. Yippee, Oslo! And over into Stockholm. Yeah, Stockholm. We see the Germans expand up and eventually take over all of Denmark. But we also see them move over into Copenhagen. The Iberians move throughout the southern part of the British Isles. We see the Iberians expand up eventually throughout the British Channel and even moving up into the Benelux area. These guys are getting gigantic. And what they're doing is they're tracking down the Germans. And they have just reached them. But we do see instability growing inside of the main Iberian Peninsula. But that's going to do it for this episode. If you guys did enjoy this episode, make sure to like and subscribe, as we are on the road to 3,000 subscribers and we are almost there. I should be going live when or before we get 3,000, just depending on when we hit it. Let's try and hit it this week. As I'm on fall break right now, it would be really cool if I could be there to see 3,000. But anyways, I will see you guys in the next video. Make sure to like and subscribe, and adios amigos.